A student named Lori walks through Shadyside High School, where she begins to remember that the town has a reputation for being cursed, as the residents end up going mad sooner or later. However, despite these sinister rumors, Vice Principal Dolores persists in carrying on with her work, and with just 2 days to go until the big graduation night, the students are getting more and more excited and curious to know who will be the new prom queen, who will represent Shadyside with her beauty. Despite knowing that she's not the least bit popular, Lori has decided to run for prom queen, since this is her last year at school, so she wants to show that she's not just a crazy girl. However, the girl knows that this won't be so easy, as all the other candidates have a high level of popularity in the school and always use the most disturbing lies to insult her. After arriving at the institution, the student meets Megan, her best friend, and together they set off towards the classroom. During his explanations, the teacher says that his students are the great representatives of Shadyside, and for this reason they must follow their goals in order to win their dream jobs. The problem is that most of the students are just evil minds who make nasty comments about each of their classmates. Taking advantage of the teacher's questions, Tiffany and Debbie say that Lori will never achieve her dream of becoming a great writer, because her family is one of the most cursed in town. Shortly afterwards, Debbie reveals that the young woman's mother eliminated her husband with a knife, leaving the young woman even more frightened by her spiteful comments. Believing that it was just a joke, the teacher carries on with his lesson as normal, and as soon as the man leaves, Tiffany declares that she wishes the girl's father to rest in hell. Upon hearing this, Megan becomes enraged and pulls a large cleaver out of her backpack, claiming that they are to blame for what will happen. The young woman then strikes her own arm with her weapon, leaving all the students terrified by the scene. However, it turned out to be a joke by Megan, who revealed that the blade was a fake, causing the students to get angry. Although Lori and Christy loved the prank, the teacher is furious and orders the girl to go to the vice principal's office immediately. Later, the pair walk through a clothing store in the city, and Megan is proud to have received a warning for something as creative as that. In addition, the young woman reveals that she has rented a new horror movie and asks her friend to come over so they can watch it together. The problem is that Lori ended up picking up a few extra shifts at her job, because that was the only way she could buy an incredible dress for the prom. In the evening, the student continues to work at the restaurant in town, and during her shift, she begins to observe Tyler, Tiffany's boyfriend, as she has strong feelings for him. At this point, Melissa meets with the rest of her group and says that Christy is the popular choice for prom queen so far. Upon hearing the news, Tiffany is outraged, saying that the young woman doesn't even deserve to win that title. Soon after, Lori delivers the meals to the customers, and noticing that the waitress is watching her boyfriend, the girl decides to make fun of her uniform. Hours later, the establishment is about to close, but just then, Tyler shows up, having forgotten his jacket on one of the tables. Curious, the young man asks if his classmate still wants to be a writer, and reveals that he has always admired the fact that she has big dreams, unlike Tiffany and her family, who say that he won't have a promising future. Lori replies that everyone tends to believe that sort of thing, but that doesn't mean that these theories are true, and after saying goodbye to her colleague and thanking her for putting his jacket away, Tyler leaves. The young woman then returns home, where her mother reveals that she will be on police duty during the night, and asks her daughter to set the alarm so that she won't be late the next morning. In her room, Lori talks to Megan on the phone, and the young woman asks how things are in her friend's neighborhood, since she lives right in front of Tiffany's house. Across the street, the prom queen candidate shows off her newest dress to her parents, who are thrilled to see their daughter ready to receive her big prize. Far from there, Christy goes to one of the nearby roads, where she sells some of her forbidden products to a couple of men from the neighboring town. As she couldn't convince her customers to give her a lift, the young woman decided to walk home, but halfway there, she heard the sound of glass being broken. Christy is terrified and starts looking around for the source of the sound, without even noticing that a figure armed with an axe is walking towards her. Before she could react, the student ended up being attacked by the criminal, and after knocking down his victim, he hit her on the head with the axe. The next morning, the students of the school talk about Christy's disappearance, and so that they can start rehearsals for the coronation ceremony, Dolores decides to disqualify the missing student. At the end of rehearsals, Lori goes to her locker, where she is surprised by the vice principal, who says that she is rooting for her to win the title of prom queen, because she knows that the young woman has always been a hard worker. In addition, the vice principal says that she knew the girl's mother, and agrees that all the accusations made about the woman should not be treated as true. At dawn, Lori starts her shift at the restaurant and feels excited, as in a few hours the big dance will begin. Away from there, the mysterious figure goes to his secret hiding place, where he picks up the form from Shadyside College, and after reaching the page of candidates for the prom queen, he scratches Christie's face and throws the victim's boots into his fireplace. Hours later, Lori finishes work and goes home to get ready for her graduation. After putting on her new dress, the young woman is surprised by her mother, who says that she was very excited when she ran for prom queen in the past, but everything went downhill after the events with her husband. The woman then apologizes for her daughter having to carry the weight of that terrible story, and says that she looks extremely beautiful. Later, Lori meets Megan, who will be her date, and together the friends set off towards the school. When they arrive at the prom, the vice principal meets with Wayland, and they announce that the voting for the prom king and queen begins at 11 o'clock. After that, Dolores asks the candidates to go on stage, but at that moment, Tiffany's group pushes the DJ away from his table, and they interrupt the music. Confused, the woman asks what's going on, and Tiffany's mother orders the directors to leave the stage immediately. Suddenly, all the other candidates appear in unique outfits and begin a performance of very strange dance moves. Confused, Lori reunites with Megan, and the pair decide to leave the prom. At the end of the presentation, Linda goes to her boyfriend, who says he forgot to pick up the application leaflets, so the couple head for the classroom pantry. As soon as they arrive, the students find all the flyers torn up and scribbled on, and the young woman is furious at what they have done to her photos. Just then, the door to the room closes, and Linda walks into the darkness to confront whoever is doing this. However, as soon as his girlfriend walks away, the young man hears the sound of a blade, followed by some grunting, and decides to get closer to check what's going on. As he does so, the student comes across Linda walking towards him, and as he looks down, he realizes that the young woman has had her belly destroyed by something. Thanks to this, the injuries caused the girl to fall to the ground lifeless, revealing the sinister figure standing right behind her. Desperate, the young man runs to try and grab a blade from beside him, but he is easily disarmed by the criminal, who pushes him against the table. The mysterious figure then uses a paper cutter to remove the hand of his victim, who screams in terror. Despite this, the young man doesn't give up fighting and grabs one of the paintbrushes in the room to threaten the criminal, who is outraged by the youngster's incredible weapon. To punish his victim even more, the guy uses the blade to remove the student's other hand, and after falling to the ground, the young man tries to drag himself to the door. However, as he no longer has his hands, the young man is unable to escape, so he is finished off by having his head slammed against the glass of the door. In the ballroom, one of the students starts screaming in despair, saying that there is a head in the drinks container on the table. One of the organizers then rushes over to check what's going on, and noticing that it's a replica of Tiffany's head, he ends up falling to the ground unconscious. Thanks to this, the table ends up being knocked over, causing the fake head to roll into the middle of the dance floor. Furious at what is happening, Tiffany remembers that Megan is the only student who has experience with crafts at that level, and begins to reprimand the girl, who claims to have no involvement in it. Dolores then says that if she commits another infraction, the student will suffer serious punishment, and after removing the handmade head from the hall, the principals take the object away. Meanwhile, Tiffany cries non-stop, saying that her night has been ruined by what Megan did, and Lori decides to leave the place, accompanied by her friend. A few minutes later, Debbie's boyfriend says he has a present for her and asks her to accompany him to a more private place. At the same time, Lori is surprised by Principal Wayland, who says that a delivery for her has just arrived at the school. Curious, the girl goes to the front door, where she encounters the delivery man, who reveals that a large bouquet of flowers has been sent for her, but he can't say who the sender is. After receiving the package, Lori finds a note with a nonsensical phrase, and starts looking around to try to understand who might have sent it to her. In the underground area of the school, Debbie talks to her boyfriend, who gives her a precious necklace as a present, making her extremely happy. However, before they could enjoy their time together, the couple began to hear noises around the basement, and the young man said that it must just be the rats that usually hang around. At that moment, the student is surprised by the guy in the cape, who hits him in the face with one of his tools, eliminating his victim instantly. Terrified, Debbie starts to move away from the creature, but she ends up running out of room, and as she takes a few steps back, she collides with an electricity panel. Thanks to this, she is electrocuted by the cables, allowing the criminal to watch the frightening way in which she was eliminated. In the corridors, Lori comes across Tiffany, who begins to tell her the whole false story of how the girl's mother took her husband's life, making the young woman increasingly uneasy. As if that wasn't bad enough, the young woman says that Lori doesn't deserve to be prom queen, and makes her leave. Disgusted by her friend's actions, Melissa says that what she did was terrible and leaves the girl's side. At the same time, Debbie's body is still attached to the power panel, and thanks to her silver necklace, which is being hid by the wires, the lighting at the ball begins to fail. In the bathroom, Melissa goes up to Lori and hands her makeup kit. Realizing that Tiffany's attitudes are already alienating even her own friends, the young woman decides to return to the dance with a new makeup because she knows that her chances are getting better and better. As soon as she arrives at the salon, Lori catches everyone's eye, and Melissa says that her new look is incredible. Soon after, Tiffany appears and orders her friend to get away from her rival immediately. Irritated, the young woman orders her to wait until she has finished talking, and the response makes the girl increasingly angry, causing her to pull her friend away. Tired of this behavior, Tiffany reminds Melissa that that dress is also hers, since the student only borrowed it from her closet, and to get even, she throws 2 glasses of drink at the girl. Lori then claims that her rival is just jealous, and so that they can decide this confrontation in a less aggressive way, the DJ starts a dance competition between the opponents. During the dispute, Melissa touches up her makeup in the bathroom and vents to herself about Tiffany's actions, without even realizing that the criminal is right next to her. Despite trying very hard, Tiffany is unable to perform any of the dance steps correctly, and Lori continues to dance with ease, winning over the audience more and more. Trying to prevent her friend from being further embarrassed, one of the girls turns off the sound system, allowing Tiffany to leave the room. Before she can leave the bathroom, Melissa is surprised by the masked criminal, and when she notices the cleaver in his hand, she tries to flee in desperation. However, as soon as she reaches the door, the young woman is confronted by yet another figure wearing the same clothes as the other pursuer, and as she looks back, she receives a blow to the head and is instantly eliminated. With one more victim finished, the criminals drag the girl's body away so they can hide it. In the ballroom, the vote for prom queen begins, and Tiffany starts scolding her boyfriend for looking at Lori so much. Meanwhile, Megan goes downstairs with her friend Spider, at which point they come across Melissa's boyfriend, who says that some students have disappeared. At the same time, the young woman notices the masked figure walking down the corridor, and after chasing it, she realizes that the intruder seems to have found the hall. In addition, Megan realizes that all the candidates for the award have disappeared, and rushes to alert Lori, causing the girl to be prevented from kissing Tyler. Desperate, Megan tells her that someone may be hunting down each of the candidates. Annoyed, Lori says that the girl is creating things just out of anger at seeing her happy. Hearing this, Megan gets angry and leaves. Trying to cheer up his partner, Tyler takes Lori's hand and asks her to accompany him to a quieter place. Meanwhile, Megan realizes that something bad may have happened in the basement, and decides to go underground on her own. Minutes later, Tyler and Lori arrive at the theater, and noticing that the young man has dubious intentions, the girl tries to leave. At that moment, Tyler is hit on the head by the masked criminal, who strikes him repeatedly, causing Lori to flee in desperation. In the basement, Megan comes across the body of the janitor pinned against the wall, with an axe in his head. Soon afterwards, the young woman finds Debbie's body and her boyfriend hidden in one of the corners and panics at the noise. Thanks to this, Lori is able to hear her best friend's screams and runs to the underground floor, but at that moment, the pair end up being trapped by the criminal. At the same time, the other masked man opens the back door of the basement, and the pair run for cover, so that they can't be found. Curious, the girls come out from behind the boxes to find out what's going on, but in doing so, they end up being found by the masked figure, who begins to chase them. Quickly, the pair run to one of the underground rooms, and after locking the door, they realize that this is the hideout of the criminal, who had a directory of his victims. At that moment, the masked pursuer uses his axe to hit the door, and so that they can escape, Megan and Lori stack some furniture in front of one of the windows. After they open the passage, Megan tries to cross, but she ends up getting careless and injures one of her hands on the shards of glass. Despite this, the young woman manages to get out of the basement, but before she can escape, Lori is surprised by the criminal. Before she can be attacked, the girl hits her pursuer in the chest with one of the shards of glass, allowing her to be pulled away by Megan and not take the blow of the axe. While being chased by the criminal, the girls run as fast as they can towards the ballroom, where the awarding of the prom king and queen is about to take place. As soon as they arrive at the venue, Lori is awarded the grand queen of the ball, leaving Tiffany completely mad at the result. Desperate, the young woman tries to reach the stage to alert the principal, while Megan shouts for the students to see that the masked figure is approaching. However, no one listens to the pair, and Wayland hands the crown to Lori, allowing the criminal to attack one of the students, removing her leg with a single blow. Seeing his friend injured, one of the students screams in terror, but the criminal wastes no time in removing his head with the axe. Lori quickly reaches the stage, and as soon as he tries to pass the students, the masked figure ends up attracting the attention of the crowd, causing everyone to flee in desperation. Trying to control the situation, Wayland orders the students to leave the hall immediately and sets out to confront the criminal, who removes his arm without difficulty. Now Lori is next, but at that moment, Megan jumps on the guy's back, who is pulled away from the girl. In a few seconds, the criminal manages to take down his opponent, but before he can eliminate her, he is surprised by Lori, who hits him in the eye with the tiara. Thanks to this, the man ends up falling to the ground, at which point he decides to remove his mask, revealing that the stalker was none other than Tiffany's father. Taking advantage of the distraction, Spider runs to grab the man's axe, while two other young men run to immobilize him. Devastated, Tiffany runs to her father, and the criminal reveals that he knew how important that award was to his wife and daughter, so he did everything he could to make sure they got what they wanted. Despite being her husband, the girl's mother asks someone to call the police, at which point Spider notices that Wayland is still alive and returns the director's arm to him. Minutes later, several cars arrive at the scene, and Lori apologizes to Megan after the fight they had. Now that her friend has been taken to hospital, the prom queen approaches Tiffany and offers to take her home, as her mother has to give her statement at the police station. Upon arriving at her home, the young woman asks Lori to stay by her side, and upon discovering that her daughter has become friends with a rival, Tiffany's mother returns home, where the girls are already asleep. Suddenly, the pair hear noises coming from the stairs, and when they see the woman coming up with a knife in her hands, they run away in desperation and hide in one of the cupboards. Soon after, Tiffany changes her expression and begins to describe how each of the teenagers were eliminated, after which she says that the whole thing was incredible. At that moment, the young woman reveals that she has been lying all this time, and tries to attack Lori with a knife she has hidden in her pocket. Terrified, the girl tries to run out of the house, but halfway there, she is hit by the woman, who begins to hold her leg. Tiffany's mother then reveals that she was really responsible for taking Lori's father's life, and before she can complete her plan, she is stopped by her daughter, who says she wants to take her rival out with her own hands. However, before she could finish, Lori kicked her opponent away, causing her to cross the stairs and fall from the second floor, her body hitting one of the statues on the table. Soon after, the young woman desperately runs away from the woman to one of the display shelves. At the last second, Lori destroys the glass in the cabinet and uses one of the trophies to strike the criminal in the head, who falls to the ground without any strength. Now that she is safe, the young woman walks outside, and after hearing the last breaths of Tiffany's mother, the girl leaves, knowing that she will always carry on her family's legacy of courage. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.